to the Cover 3 radio show here on EC Radio and on YouTube. I am Cody. I also go by Shaq. And today, people, today we are back. We are back. We are better than ever. It's been forever since I have seen all of y'all and you have heard from moi. So let me just recap what's been going on. I mean, winter break hit, so we were out of the studio. We moved into a new studio on the campus of Endicott College. We're in a new room, a better room, a upgraded room to say the least. A lot of stuff has happened. Super Bowl, the NFL season is done, the NCAA championship and the college football season is done, and baseball starting up again. The NBA season has just got over the All-Star break and it's kicking up again. And it's just an exciting time. It's an exciting time. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back here in the booth. This episode will be pre-recorded, so we'll go on. We'll go up today in like an hour at 6. I'm live right now on YouTube. Anyway, let's get cracking. Big moves have happened in the Major League Baseball, especially contract-wise. And the first big domino to fall, I mean, there have been plenty of big dominoes to fall, but the big one, Manny Machado gets 10 years, $300 million from the San Diego Padres. Now, the Padres have been one of the worst teams in the Major Leagues for the last few years. I think they had one good year in 2012. I don't even know if they made the playoffs that year, but ever since Adrian Gonzalez has been gone, and they really haven't been able to do anything, really. Chase Headley had a really good year one year, and then he sort of fell off a cliff. They tried Matt Latos. They had Matt Latos, and he went on to bigger and better things. Ian Kennedy had a really spectacular year. I don't know. I think that was for the Diamondbacks. Maybe it wasn't for the Padres. But anyway, they have not seen a star of the likes of Manny Machado since they had Adrian Gonzalez in the mid to beginning of the 2010s before he was shipped off to the Red Sox. So, with that being said, Manny Machado going there for 10 years, $300 million. It's the first, or not the first, but the second $300 million players. First player to get $30 million a year or more. He banked in with the Padres. And the one interesting thing about the Padres still aren't good. Like I said, bringing Manny Machado in does not make them a playoff contender. Does not put them in the race. I don't believe. They still have some time to grow. They have one of the, if not the best farm systems. For instance, Mejia, the best catching prospect. They have Mackenzie Gordon, Cal Quantrill, who are two of the best pitching prospects. They have more pitching depth as well. Anderson Espinoza, who's been hurt a little bit, was a top prospect for the Red Sox only a couple years ago. And then you look at the infield, Luis Urias and what's his face? Drawing a blank. Fernando Tatis Jr., who are two of the best middle infield prospects in the league. You have Manny Margot out there in the outfield. They have some very quality pieces, and some I'm even forgetting about. They have some fantastic depth, some fantastic prospects who could be stars in their own right. You add Manny Machado to that, who will play third base. He was adamant at playing shortstop, which I believe is most because shortstops get more money, especially in the golden age of shortstops that we're in, with the likes of Francisco Lindor. Manny Machado was one last year. Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, Trey Turner. It's a great time to be a shortstop in the league. And he moved to shortstop. He got his bag, and now he's going back to third base with the Padres. It's a good move, and this is why, because Manny Machado is only 26 years old. It's not like he needs to compete for a championship right now, and to be honest, I don't know if Manny Machado will ever be that player where he'll play to win a championship. I feel like he's going to be one of those players that gets his money, that Carmelo Anthony type player. Where's the money at? Where can I be a star? And let's do this. But he does have a good chance. I won't say a good chance to win, but he has a decent chance to be a perennial postseason threat, especially with how much young talent they have. Give him time to develop. A couple years. He's there for 10 years, so they have plenty of time to develop their players they have currently on the wings. If they can develop, especially with a weakening NL West, you have the Dodgers, who haven't really gotten any younger. Corey Seager is back, which is good, but they got rid of Yasiel Puig. They didn't really make any huge, big moves. They got Joe Kelly in the bullpen. Other than that, I don't believe they made any significant moves. Kershaw has been reported as hurt. It's it's looking like the window for the Dodgers is starting to close. The Giants are irrelevant. They were the second worst team in the league 2 years ago, and this last year. The additions of Evan Longoria and Andrew McCutchen, which I didn't believe was going to do anything. Guess what? They didn't do anything. This is Bruce Bochy's last year. A salute to Bruce Bochy. He's been one of the most fantastic managers of my era since I've been watching baseball. And then you look over at the Rockies, who just locked up Nolan Arenado, which we'll talk about next. It is, and also the Diamondbacks, who got rid of Paul Goldschmidt. It is a weakening division, one of the more competitive ones last year with the Rockies, with the Diamondbacks, with the Dodgers all frontlining that. Now it's starting to become an open race. Right now, I would probably assume the Rockies are the favorites, especially with the injury to Kershaw, depending on how that works out. It is going to be an interesting and a very, very, very interesting time in which we are going to be seeing the NL West sort of change from borderline one of the better divisions in the league to now one of the worst, potentially in the next couple of years. So the Padres really do have a good shot within their 10-year window where they got Manny Machado. They're going to sell Machado jerseys, get a couple more seats in San Diego. You know, the Chargers are moved out, and the San Diego Padres is the only professional sports team representing San Diego. They have that star they can sell. They have that star they can say, this guy plays for your team. This guy is the voice and the heart and the soul of your team. Come support him, come buy his jersey. And then you also have, like I mentioned, Fernando Tatis, Luis Urias, what's his face, catcher, Francisco Mejia. They got rid of Brad Hand for all that, and Brad Hand was one of the best closers in the game. And they got some pretty good prospects from the Indians in return. And they are looking to be, in the next couple of years, a very, very good team. You know, team to watch out for, definitely. A sleeper team, nonetheless. Next up, Nolan Arenado gets an 8-year, $260 million extension from the Colorado Rockies, effective this next year. So he'll play out this year, and then the contract will inflict. What's big about this, it is now the highest money per year contract in MLB history. He's getting $32.5 million a year. We're entering NBA territory. Now, the MLB has always been famous for giving out the most money, in which they give out a lot of money, but their contracts are your longevity. You can be effective in baseball longer than I believe any other sport. You have to be an athlete, but you can still hit. You can still throw. You have a spot, especially if you were a star player. You have a spot in the league. And that's when we see all these 10-year, 8-year, 7-year, 9-year, 200-plus, 217, 250, now $300 contracts. Because that longevity plays out. And Nolan Arenado has been, for my money, the third best player in baseball behind Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Nolan Arenado. We'll have to probably do a top 10 list pretty soon, top 25 list pretty soon in the league. But Nolan Arenado is a phenomenal talent. One of the best two-way. Like he reminds me of Kawhi Leonard in the fact that, the best two-way player. He is an exceptional offensive player. He's had 35 home runs and 110 RBIs in 4 of his first 6 seasons in the league. Albert Pujols is the only one with more with 5 in his first 6 seasons. He plays some of the best defense, regardless of position, every year, especially playing third base, one of the hardest positions to play in the field. He is phenomenal at that. In Coors Field, hits the ball long, hard. He's a phenomenal talent. He really is. He really is. And he is deserving of this $260 million contract. And I believe they have a good team around him. They have Trevor Story. They have Brendan Rodgers coming up in the farm system. Their pitchers, obviously, Coors Field, you're going to have inflated numbers and not really going to tell the whole story. We have Kyle Freeland and pitchers of that caliber there in Colorado. They were, I believe, they were a wild card team last year, and they lost to the Dodgers, and they've been flirting with the playoffs. They have been flirting with the playoffs the last couple of years. And, once they got rid of Troy Tulowitzki, they took a dip a little bit, but they've been building this team back up slowly. And Nolan Arenado is your centerpiece. He is your star. As I said, third best player in the game for my money. Right behind Mookie Betts, right behind Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Nolan Arenado, probably Francisco Lindor, probably Jose Altuve. I don't have my list off the top of my head, but he is an exceptional talent. He is deserving of the 8-year, $260 million contract, and that's where this whole conversation is starting to go with the contracts in the major leagues. And now there's been the swirling notion of a potential lockout, potential work stoppage, because last year it took JD Martinez, I believe, until this day last year, 2 days and 3 days into spring training, to sign his contract. One of the best. He had 45 home runs in 110 games last year, and he came to this moment last year to get a 5-year, $120 million contract when he is worth way more than that. Shout out to the Red Sox for getting that deal done. Worth way more than that. And then you have the Harpers, who still hasn't signed yet. You have the Machados and the Machados that took till last week to sign, and Craig Kimbrell is still out on the market. Dallas Keuchel is still on the market, and a lot of these players aren't really getting paid. And it comes to the fact that, are these players worth this much money? And we've seen the big money issue comes. This is a money issue in all three of the sports. Football players aren't getting paid enough. The NBA, they just keep getting paid more and more and more and more, where we get ugly contracts. And it's hard for teams to build. And then you have the major leagues, where now they're just going into full rebuilds, using that 6 years of team control rather than paying these superstars the $25 to $30 million a year that they want. And I think it all really does stem down to the collective bargaining agreement with basketball and how big that was. And in 2016, everyone got about $25 to $30 million more to play with in the offseason. Plus, it's going to keep rising and rising, with the popularity of basketball rising and rising as well. So now you have these players making up to $45 million a year. Once the John Wall contract and the Steph Curry extensions and the Westbrook and the Embiids and whatever deal Durant's going to get, and all these deals start going to the end as NBA contracts scale up, you're going to start seeing 45 to 50, one day potentially $60 million a year players. Now you look back into football, one of the biggest business model basically in the United States, especially on the sports spectrum. Now you have these players who are saying, we're not getting the guaranteed money. Like, you can see the contract for 8 years, $75 million, or 5 years, $75 million. But the really only money you really look at is the guaranteed. So it could be 5 years, $45 million guaranteed. That's basically a 9-year contract with incentives, with depending on if you get hurt or cut or whatever. You basically signed a 5-year, $45 million contract with the potential to get 75. And now, say if a star player like a Todd Gurley, say, he's one of the, for my money, the second best running back in the league, top 2, top 3 at the bare minimum. Actually, let's not use that example, because running backs really are starting to really get devalued. Let's take a player like Odell Beckham Jr. Now, I don't know exactly his contract right now, but say he signed a 6-year, $85 million contract with $55 million guaranteed. Now, he got himself a 6-year, $55 million contract, which is pretty dope. That's $55 million more than I have. So, but he's one of the top players in the league. He does all this. Say he gets hurt. He gets hurt really, really bad, God forbid. And he can only play 30 games throughout his contract. He's been banged up for all 5 years. He hasn't really got all that. So he only gets the 45. Say he gets 60 million. Or 50, just the $55 million. That's $30 million left on the table. And that's where the NFL players are getting upset now. So now you move over to the major leagues. And these contracts, they're notorious for getting these big, monstrous, bulking, hulking contracts. How many hulking words can I rhyme? 10 years, slap 250 on it. 8 years, slap 210 on it. 7 years, slap $190 on it. And that's where they make a lot of their money. Now, the averages is only about $20 million, $25 million a year, which compared to the NBA, that's like a star player, not exactly a superstar player. So now these superstar players are, now that they're pushing, it's all setting markets. Manny Machado just set the market as a star player is most likely going to get $30 a year. $30 million a year. So depending on where you view Manny Machado in the spectrum, whether it be by position or just by overall, he is probably a top 15, potentially top 10 player in the major leagues right now. So you're saying that top 10 players are going to make $30+ million from now on top of the normally ridiculous, very extremely long contracts. Now you add Nolan Arenado, who for my money is better. Slap that on top. Now, Nolan Arenado's, if you believe that your player's star caliber player, now they're making 32. When Bryce Harper signs, Bryce Harper has a lot of leverage where he can sign for more than that. So now he gets to 30. So he gets $35 million a year. So he gets a 10-year $350 from the Phillies. So now the bar says $350. Now if I'm Mookie Betts, and I look at what Harper got, and I go, I'm better than Harper. I play the field better than Harper does. I hit better than Harper does. He might have more power than me, but even then I still have 30 home runs. I produce runs at the top of the lineup. I steal bases. I'm the best fielder in major leagues. I'm the most complete. I am a 5-tool player, one of the most complete players in the major leagues. I need more than him. So that's all it is. It's a player gets a deal, and then agents and players and teams decide, are you better than them? Are you worse than them? Are you more valuable than them? Are you less valuable than them? And then that's when the market starts getting set. So when we see players like running back position, which they don't spend a lot of money, you can see the running back market start going down. But quarterbacks, that is such an important position. You see players like Derek Carr getting $25+ million. Andrew Luck getting these huge deals. Aaron Rodgers getting 40% of the cap just to himself. So that's how that's how the sports market works. So now if you're looking at the sports market view, if you're Mookie Betts, you're like, well, I want a 10-year $375. Okay, you're worth more than Bryce Harper in my eyes, so that only makes sense. You get more money than Bryce Harper does. Now you're Mike Trout. You could ask for a 10-year, $400 million plus contract because of how the market was set. And it just keeps going from there. And that's when the scale backs start happening. I believe that's what the owners are trying to do. They're trying to scale back. So in 5 years, maybe these contracts come back. But now that these contracts are getting signed, sealed, delivered, they're yours. As I get my bad joke out of the way now. It's starting to create that market now. So now if you're, a Jose Altuve, a Francisco Lindor, who I actually don't know if those guys are signed under contract, got big extensions yet. I don't know exactly what their contract details are, but the Mookie Betts is the Mike Trout's, the Aaron Judge's, Stanton's already locked up for basically the rest of his life. Chris Bryant's, the Anthony Rizzo's, the top upper echelon players. The Jose Ramirez is the Alex Bregmans, all those front line players. You look at these contracts now, and especially with the agents, especially if you're Scott Boras agent, client rather, you start comparing yourself to these players. Now you can make an argument that, hey, maybe Alex Bregman is on the level of Nolan Arenado. He plays great defense. He's good with the stick. I don't think he's as good as Nolan Arenado, but he can make a case. He's faster. He steals more bases than Nolan, So now you can say, well, I'm more valuable than Nolan Arenado. I want $33 million a year. And that's how these markets start getting set. So I believe once Harper signs, refocus. Once Harper signs and the market is clearly set for the upper echelon players, what they're going to get. That's when we can start deciding, well, what is Mike Trout going to get? What is Mookie Betts going to get? What is all these players going to get? Are these players worth the $300 million? You've seen players like Josh Hamilton, Albert Pujols, where they signed these huge contracts and didn't really work out. Dustin Pedroia signed a big contract extension, much like Nolan Arenado's, but obviously on a lower scale. And he's been hurt. He's been really hurting the Red Sox. They have $13 million of just dead cap that they can't really use because Dustin Pedroia has been hurt. And it's only going up. So it's going to be a culture shock to the major leagues. And hopefully these players get paid and it's not that big of a deal and baseball can still go on being the best sport out there. But we'll have to see. But Nolan Arenado gets 8 years, $260 from the Rockies. Machado gets 10 years, $300 from the Padres. Now we're going to dial it back. What have we missed since I've been gone? Well, we missed the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is kind of fun. Now, the Super Bowl was, depending on who you ask, one of the worst Super Bowls in history, and depending on who else you ask, it was one of the, it was a really good game. You had the fourth quarter drive. You had the great defense. Football should be played. Yada yada yada. Patriots won. Knowing me from New England, I am a Patriots fan. I was extremely happy that the Patriots did come out and win. Now, it was a 13-3 victory in favor of the New England Patriots. It was extremely surprising. It was one of those games where you just knew it was going to be 30-plus for both teams. You had basically one of the best teams, one of the hottest teams offensively coming in. You had Tom Brady, who had worked magic, against the Chargers, against the Chiefs, especially. The running game was reformed. They weren't that aired out team like they were before. They sort of dialed it back to the 2000s Patriots style defense, and I don't think people realize how old school they really went in the playoffs. Running out clocks, 8-minute drives, stopping the run, doing a great job of establishing the run, then using Tom Brady in the passing game. Off of that, Gronkowski looked decent in the playoffs. It was just a really good playoff run, and a very underrated playoff run, I believe. And it showed that there is sort of a formula set where defense wins, and the defense did a phenomenal job. And Jared Goff, I believe still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, maybe top 10, but he's really young. He's promising. He had these games where he just looked like he could never miss a pass. But the moment was too big for him. He's only 24, 23. Of course, you're starting Super Bowl 2 years after being the number one overall pick. You're going to be nervous, and not every single player, you should throw in and then automatically they take off. He had a bad game. He had a very bad game. The entire offense had a really bad game. And give credit where credit is due. Bill Belichick won that game. Bill Belichick is the reason the Patriots are Super Bowl champions right now. And a lot of people like to hate on Brady. And, Brady had that fourth quarter, that last drive for the touchdown, which was pretty dope. Gostowski missed another field goal in the Super Bowl, which is killing me. But no, that was a really good game. One of the most underrated plays, I believe it was the third quarter. It was 3-3. And Brandon Cooks got open in the middle of the field. No one covered him. Jason McCourty, from across the field, went from about the 20-yard line, sprinted to the back of the end zone, and batted away a pass. That was basically a gimme. It was like, someone was sitting right across the room, and no one else was in this room, and I just lob it over. That was one of those passes. It was destined to be a defensive liability. It was destined to be critiqued and looked upon and broken down by every single sports network in the nation. But Jason McCourty hustled. And Jason McCourty did not give up on the play. He recognized the broken coverage and darted. He just killed his assignment and put his head down and booked it and broke up that pass. If that pass would have been caught, it would have been 10-3 Rams. And the Rams would have taken all control. It would have sparked their offense. That was a deflating moment for the Rams. And that was a beautiful veteran play made by Jason McCourty. And sometimes veteran leadership and veteran presence go so under the radar in terms of NFL teams. Everyone wants to be young. Everyone wants to be fast. The older you are, the more expensive you are, and the bigger liability you are because you don't quite have the foot speed you used to have. The game's getting quicker. The game's getting spread out. Those older, slower guys. Corey's not a burner, but he's not in a wheelchair either. The older guys are susceptible to getting broken coverage and just blown by and moved all around. Jason McCourty did not all season use his veteran leadership and broke up that pass, and that is the reason the Patriots won that Super Bowl. Dante Hightower had a fantastic game. Trey Flowers in the defensive line had a fantastic game, moving Goff off his spots, getting into gaps, stopping the running game. The Rams didn't really have anything to stop Patriots defense, and the Rams defense, give them credit, did fantastic as well. Aaron Donald was a beast all night. The secondary had a really good game. Tom Brady was picked off a tip from a line, or it was such a bad pass. That pass was rough. The first drive of the game, just floated it out to Gronk, or I think Chris Hogan, and it was just picked off. It was stupid. It's not a Tom Brady throw. It's a stupid throw. But anyway, great. It was a great. I thought it was a good game. I was a little upset. I was a little disappointed in the fact that there was some bad offense. A lot of people were like it was just a great defensive game. No, it was great defense, but I think there was a little bit of bad offense as well. Goff didn't look. The Rams' offense did not look as advertised. The Patriots struggled as well, and it was one of those things where how much was it a bad offensive game? How much was it a good defensive game? I think it was 60-40 or 65-35, good defense and bad offense. There were some drives that were just like, wow. There were some drives I'm just like, that was impressive. That was a red play. That was a blitz gap. That was this, that, the other thing. So overall, I thought it was a obviously good win for the Patriots. Let's get number 7 now. Let's get 7. But good job. That is the Super Bowl. That's my take on the Super Bowl. Now let's move down back even 2 weeks before, or a month before, as the University of Clemson took on the University of Alabama. And oh boy. For those who do not know, I am a Bama fan. My mother grew up watching University of Alabama in the 80s. When it was my turn to pick a college football team to root and support for, she put me on to the Crimson Tide. In my lifetime, I have seen 5 championships. People hate me for it. They on a bandwagon, this, that, the other thing, and I say nah. I say no. Regardless, they got stomped. Alabama got absolutely murdered by Clemson, and it's no one's fault, but Clemson just came and played. Dissect it. Tua had that bad turnover. The pick six was deflating. It looked like I was watching a film breakdown of the game, basically all the big plays, and in that, receiver ran a slant, but the receiver was supposed to run a slant, and another receiver was supposed to, was sort of like a slant flat concept, and the player that ran the slant sort of gave up halfway through, and it looked like at first on live it looked like Tua was trying to go to the flat, but in reality it looked like, but looking it over and looking at the coverage, it looked like Tua was supposed to hit, I believe it was Devonta Smith and Jerry Jeudy, supposed to hit Smith, basically for the same play that opened up the Oklahoma game, which they beat down Oklahoma. But it was basically the first play of the Oklahoma game, which is a slant to Smith, and Smith just took off 50 yards. It looked like that same exact play, but it was jumped and pick six for Clemson. Next time down, to a 50-yard bomb to Jerry Jeudy, we're in business. And after that, just all Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, fantastic job all night. I was scared of Trevor Lawrence. I'm not even going to flex. I was scared of Trevor Lawrence. I was telling my buddies before the game that, like, obviously I get a lot of smack talk because I'm a Bama fan. So, like, can't wait to lose to Trevor Lawrence, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm scared of Trevor Lawrence. And even though if I had Tua, fantastic quarterback, one of the smarter, more talented quarterbacks in the league. Trevor Lawrence is just special. He is like Tua levels of special. And, everyone says that, Tua has the best team in the country. His stats don't count. Having the best team in the country doesn't make you pinpoint throws. And for my people who say that, I go, well, why didn't Blake Sims or Jalen Hurts or A.J. McCarron put up similar numbers? So anyway, before I get on Tua is not good rant. Just all credit to Dabo Swinney, Brent Venables, who had a fantastic defensive game plan. Just basically the Patriots' game plan defensively against Bama. It was legit a beautiful, beautiful defensively called game. Tua made some mistakes you don't see. Threw into double coverage after I think it was a cover 3 disguise where he believed it was cover 2 and thought that Jerry Jeudy could slip past the deep safety, but here goes Trayvon Mullins following him right behind. And then it was one of those games where they were behind. They didn't really know how to respond. Josh Jacobs had a great game. What's his face? Najee Harris had a good game as well on the ground. Quinnen Williams was quiet. He had a couple pressures and he plugged up gaps, but the defensive line for the most part was pretty quiet. Isaiah Buggs didn't do much. I didn't hear much of Raekwon Davis's name. Anthony Jennings, and it was just a bad defensive game. And Justin Ross smoked Alabama secondary. Savion Smith hurt his ankle really bad. One of the I think it's like a 70-something yard play. Just got legit, his ankles broke, wide open. Patrick Surtain looked awful. He was a really, really good corner all year. True freshman, just looked bad against two of the top receivers in the game over the college football playoff. And he, like I said, he looked rough, and especially against Oklahoma. Marquise Brown, no, it wasn't even, CeeDee Lamb ate him up for dinner. He had like 2 touchdowns on him, like 8 catches, 100-something yards. So, yeah. Ugh. It was a tough pill to swallow. It really was, but it comes with the territory. You're a fan of the best teams. You have to take these losses. And Bama played well all season. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the Issa Yikes moment of the week. And this will happen last Sunday. Or last Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know. North Carolina Duke, one of the most historic rivalries in all the sports. 30 seconds in, Zion Williamson's foot goes right through his shoe, sprained his knee, day-to-day, hasn't played since that game. Come on, Nike, what are you doing? And I understand. I'm in a PR class, and the teacher was like, that's a PR nightmare. This is bad for Nike. Their stock dropped. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, they can't have that. But at the same time, I'm like, how do you really build a shoe for a 285-pound man that is that powerful and that quick and turns and is agile? Like, you don't. You really don't. Shaq was a big boy, but Shaq wasn't cutting on dimes and changing court directions. And, he was big. He was athletic. He could run, but he wasn't zip-zap-zopping around. Zion is. You just get that one bad angle and there's your foot. But anyway, that's the Issa moment of the week. And it brings us to our next and most likely final segment, as we're going to keep it a little bit short because I do have work, as you see I'm all dressed up. Should Zion Williamson sit? Now, Zion Williamson is perched on basically everyone's draft boards as the number 1 prospect and the number 1 overall pick in the draft for this upcoming year. How should he sit? Poked in the eye against Florida State, missed a half. He has now this knee sprain. He's missed the last few games. Does he sit? And I can see both sides of the coin. And I'll give you my thoughts on it. I was Zion Williamson. I was my mind in Zion Williamson's body. I play. It's what you do. You play basketball. It's fun. I've never been one to, even when I'm injured, and it might have been my downfall in my athletic career, but I had a broken hand. 2 days later, I was back practicing playing football. I broke my foot. I was in the gym the next day shooting hoops. I've always, I broke my nose, and I almost played in the game. I just wasn't cleared to get. I was cleared to get a mask medically. If I did, I would have played. You just play. It's competitive. You feel like you look at your team and you feel like you're letting them down, and you go off. Especially him being probably the best player on that team. At least right now, I still like RJ a lot, and I think RJ should be the number 1 overall pick. But anyway, you don't give up. You just play. You legit just play. Like that's just it's never been a thought in my mind that I don't play. There's been one time where I sat because of an injury that I potentially could have came back for, which was a head injury, which ended up I'd never played football again after that. So, but that was the only time where I was injured, and my first immediate fact was, how quick can I get back? When can I get back? And how can I do this so I can go back and play? It's just what you do. You grow up, you play. But at the same token, if you're the number 1 overall pick, and he has an insurance claim that if he drops past 16, he'll get $8 million on. You're going in the first 3 picks. It doesn't matter. You could have cut your leg off and sewed it to the back of your head. You still would have went top 3. But anyway, you basically have number 1 pick locked up. You're just a physical specimen. You can sit like Nick Bosa. Didn't play all year. He hurt I think he tore an ab And then he just said, he's like, yep, nope. Mailed in the season, just got better, and now he's still going to look like the number one overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft. If you're that generation of talent, you can sit and you look at the prime example of Jalen Smith for a couple of years ago. For those who don't know the Jalen Smith story, he was a linebacker in Notre Dame. He was easily the best linebacker in that class. He was very fast, super smart, really good coverage linebacker. And they were like, you're going top 5 easily. Like, people who never looked at football before will look at, hey, he deserves to be top 5 pick. Like, that's how good he was. And that was the draft with Ezekiel Elliott and that draft class. Miles Jack was there, and him as well. He got hurt as well. But anyway, he was looking at the top 5 pick. He played in the bowl game against their bowl game that year against Ohio State. Blew out his knee in like 4 different places. Ended up being a second-round pick, and he's ended up coming back and being a good, solid player. But he didn't get the contract that he probably would have got if, and this is the future. They don't get paid to play college, play in college. So you're basically throwing away $1 million if you do, if you do decide to play and get hurt again, you fall to 4th. The difference between a 4th and the first overall pick and contract is a couple million. I believe the first overall pick gets $6 million in their first year, and the 4th pick gets like 4 to 3.5. So right there, that's basically you lose half your money, or 1/3 of your money potentially. So anyway, I can see him doing both. From what I've heard from Zion, he wants to play. He's always been a player, so he's most likely going to play once all this stuff gets cleared up. But looking at it from the business side, I could see why you would sit. I personally wouldn't, and even then, yeah, I still wouldn't. I still play. I mean, it's one of those things where like you play, you play. That's what you do. You play. It is definitely a tricky situation. One of those things where it sucks if you do, it sucks if you don't, on both sides. It sucks if you played and you got hurt, but also would suck if you don't play. You love basketball. It sucks if you lose a couple $1 million, but also suck if you weren't part of that national championship game and you could potentially have been the difference in a loss in the Sweet 16 or a loss in the championship round. And he said that he came to Duke to win a championship. I believe him. You listen to the players. That's what you listen to the players and what they want, and that's what they want. You don't listen to anyone else. You just listen to the players. I personally think Zion should play. If he wants to sit, I won't be mad at him. If he wants to play, I won't be mad at him. So we're about 40 minutes in. We're going to wrap there. Just like I mentioned, shorter episode. I got work soon. I had to come in because I wouldn't be able to do it. The live show at 6 o'clock. But you know how we like to wrap the show up? This moment in sports history fact. And today, the 26th of February, in 1987, Tom Landry was let go as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, do the house cleaning before we wrap up. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at _cover_3. That's THE_COVER_3. That's where you can see my sports takes throughout the week. And things like the Super Bowl, and things like Manny Machado, and things like the NCAA Championship, which I would tweet about when I have these month hiatuses. That's where you can find more of Cody. Also, check out Celtics Pulse and the Pulse Podcast Network, as I do the Celtics podcast about once a week over there. If you need more of my takes as well, be on the lookout for a new podcast I am doing with another host for a baseball show. Nothing being announced yet, but pretty soon we should have an episode drop. Episode 1 should be dropping about next week. So stay on the lookout for that. You can get that all on the Pulse Podcast app. Go on your phone. Pulse Sports Network, I believe it is. Download it. Bunch of podcasts, all different sports, team-oriented, culture, wrestling, movies, anything you want, it's there. Make sure to check that out. Also, Tuesdays, 6 o'clock, be here. Show's coming back. Missed the first 2 weeks. We're back. We're gonna keep it rolling. Also, anyone interested in checking out me as a broadcaster? I do broadcast sports here on campus, and most of you know that's the job. I have a men's volleyball game at 6 o'clock. So if you're listening to this on EC Radio, right now I'm calling the men's basketball game. So come on out down after and watch the men try to beat Wentworth tonight. But if you are interested, I broadcast the games. I'll tweet what games I am going to be broadcasting. So make sure to follow me on Twitter if you're interested. If you go to Endicott Athletics or ecgoals.com or endicott.com, there are live streams of all the games. Just look up the sport, and then bada bing, bada boom, you can watch me, hear me. But with that being said, I am going to bid everyone a farewell.